Joining us is Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin. Welcome to you, Madam Assistant Secretary. Mexico, Colombia, now Venezuela, drug lords are on notice. The U.S. is fighting back. Where is the line between law enforcement and military action?
Trey, if this was the Taliban or al-Qaeda bringing over weapons to U.S. soil, or drugs for that matter, there would be no hesitation in going after them. President Trump, Secretary Noem, and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth are not going to be ignoring American lives being at risk. These are narco-terrorists. These are transnational organizations. As you know, Trey, a number of the members of this audience know, on average, 100,000 Americans die every year from fentanyl. And that's exactly what these 11 members of Tren de Aragua were doing. They were trying to traffic over deadly drugs into our country to kill Americans. We know that these cartel members are getting increasingly desperate because that border is closed. Now about 80% of deadly drugs that are funneled over to U.S. soil is done by maritime water. So we will continue to see these actions from the U.S. Coast Guard that Secretary Noem leads, as well as from the Pentagon.
All right, here's the president on regime change, and I'll ask you about it on the other side.
Well, we're not talking about that, but we are talking about the fact that you had an election which was a very strange election, to put it mildly. I'm being very nice when I say that. I can only say that billions of dollars of drugs are pouring into our country from Venezuela. And when you look at that boat, you see the bags of whatever it is there. Those bags were, you know what those bags represent? Hundreds of thousands of dead people in the United States.
You know, Tricia, that is a very powerful rhetorical tool to say you're not thinking about something and then give all the reasons that we all should be thinking about it. Colombia, Panama, Mexico, Venezuela, they have all had leaders, past or present, that are sympathetic to the cartels. And Venezuela is more than sympathetic. I mean, he aids and abets them. So why not pursue a different regime, less hostile to the safety of Americans?
Well, I will leave that to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, as well as President Trump. I won't get ahead of them. I'll leave that to them. But I will say our ICE and CBP agents are on the ground every single day, arresting members of Tren de Aragua, arresting members of MS-13, and these very vicious cartels that go after Americans every day. And Trey, a big part of the problem that we're seeing in these sanctuary cities is that they become safe harbors for these incredibly vicious gangs. You look at Tren de Aragua, that base of operations was out of New York City at the Roosevelt Hotel, because these vicious members know that they are going to be able to walk around with impunity and continue to conduct their crimes in this revolving door of justice that we're seeing in these sanctuary cities. So that's why we're flooding the zone, whether it be Los Angeles, whether it be New York, Chicago. We have to make sure Americans are safe, especially when their own leaders won't ensure it for them.
You know, there's a reason I started with Kiki Camarena in the opening. 1985, not only did they kill a federal law enforcement official, they tortured him for days and days. These are some of the most inhumane, depraved, malicious people on the face of the earth. I'll give you the last word, but look, there are different levels of criminality. These drug cartels are among the most vicious, inhumane, inhuman people that you can imagine.
No, it's absolutely true. We've arrested almost 5,000 members of gangs under President Trump and Secretary Noem's leadership. It's just despicable. But I will say Americans should remember who Tren de Aragua is, who those 11 members of that vicious gang are. They rape, they maim, they kill Americans for sport, and they enrich themselves through drug trafficking, through poisoning Americans for profit, and through the sexual trafficking of vulnerable young women. These are not people who should be on U.S. soil, and they should face the consequences.
Yeah, and no need for extradition or trial. Now, Tricia McLaughlin, thank you for joining us on the Sunday night.
Thank you for having me, Jay.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.